Good evening, everyone. And oh, look, you can see if it comes up. There. Welcome to this evening's meeting of the Ipswich Town Council. Hello, Mr. Mayor. Welcome. I will now declare it open for you. There we go. You've arrived. First part of the meeting is public participation. We haven't got any public in and nobody on Zoom, have we? No. So we'll move to item number 2, apologies for absence, please.
Apologies from councillors Belsi, Julie, Odie and Scott. They all are away with personal comments.
Thank you. I'm happy to accept those. Can I have a second for that? Show of hands to. Thank you. Item number 3 is to receive the minutes of the meeting held on the 1st of August. These are for accuracy, so I'd like to propose them. Could I have a second for that, please? I'll show of hands to adopt them.
I can do this.
Yes.
Oh, no, keep going.
Okay.
This was the direction. Yeah, absolutely.
Item 4 is to receive them with declarations of interest.
Thank you, Chairman, Deputy Chairman. As a member of Mid Sussex District Council's District Planning Committee, I reserve the right to change my opinion on the application seen tonight. Should new analyses, reports, information come to my attention at a later date. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. Same for me, please. Thank you very much.
Item number 5 is Chairman's announcements. I'm going to think specific. Anything that we might want to consider, and I'm not really sure on this, is whether we in the future remove this late August meeting from Rota, and because so many people are on holiday, and when it's just made for it today, obviously it's a much reduced space for discussion, and we go to delegated decisions for myself and the clerk to sort of take this meeting out of the lineup. I'm not proposing that we put that forward today, but I'll be interested in committee's thoughts on that. If anyone does have any thoughts on it.
Just in terms of workload, really, I mean, just research the previous years. We don't want to make it excessively heavy in September and October, which potentially it could do. I don't know, that might not be in consideration, if not in summer's
We would
generally.
need, what we need to do because of the timescales, we would need to basically, rather than have a full meeting, the things that would come up on this meeting, we would do a delegated decision between myself and the clerk.
Okay.
So we'd still make decisions, but we just wouldn't hold
Oh.
a meeting because of people being on leave. Then what committee's thoughts are on that.
Yeah.
But if that's something that as this committee would potentially be happy with,
Yeah.
I'll bring that to.
I think so.
I'll bring that to.
November, FGP.
Yeah.
Let's discuss, Chair.
Yeah.
It's worth thinking about.
Okay. Just because I think this meeting is kind of a slightly hollow one sometimes, isn't it? Obviously, I think if we should maybe allow some wiggle room that if something really significant came forward, that we could reconvene the meeting. Item number 6 is an interesting one. It's Mid Sussex development planning documentation. This is the town's position. This was something brought forward by Councillor Whitaker and driven, which I think has been very good. We put some wording together, which is in the appendix, but Councillor Whitaker has put forward some, it's not slightly more punchy wording, which I think has been circulated to you all, that you've seen, along with the letter that it refers to from Surrey County Council. Councillor Whitaker, would you like to discuss this?
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. I'd like to just give some contextual background to the committee and for the public record, really. This relates to the Mid Sussex District Council's site allocation DPD, or the development plan document. That's the culmination. It's now been adopted on the 29th of June and recently the 10th of August reaffirmed its adoption. So it is now a legal document. carries a complete weight. So within that, and it's taken 4 years to get to this adoption status. However, within that, there are 3 sites that have been allocated, SA 18, 19 and 20, that are within East Grinstead, and particularly SA 19 and 20 are significant size sites, and within Imberhorn ward, which is certainly my ward, and indeed your ward, Chairman. So for the past 3 or 4 years, I have been working extremely closely with many of the residents and residents groups within Imberhorn, most notably Infrastructure First, and Paul and Claire, and I've been lobbied consistently over 3 or 4 years by many people within the town, as you have, Chairman. So and through the process of adoption, there were 2 formal consultation periods that the District Council did, and one of my main concerns and many residents' concerns has been the traffic congestion, particularly at what's called the Star Junction, which is the junction of the A22 and the A264, the Star Public House, which is on the border of 2 county councils, namely Surrey County Council and West Sussex, and 2 district councils, Mid Sussex and Tanbridge. So it's a pretty unique situation for any district planning authority to have, and a tricky one, because that junction spans 2 county councils and 2 district councils as well. So there are effectively 4 silos, separate silos of local authority responsibility, which has been a problem, I felt, and many residents have felt, to get some coordination on a sense of purpose to do something to that junction to provide an upgrade to mitigate it. So that's the contextual background. I particularly in the past 6 to 9 months, and certainly this calendar year, have raised this particular issue at full district council meetings, because I'm a district councillor for the Imberhorn ward as well. But I'm speaking tonight on behalf of the town council as a town councillor for my ward, and relaying many people's views. So not just residents' views, but my proposed wording to this planning, and I'd like to term it a planning policy statement on behalf of this town council, to be aligned with our neighbourhood plan, adopted neighbourhood plan, to give it as much weight, planning weight, as we possibly can. You know, even I know we're a statutory consultee to the planning authority, but essentially we're backed up by Surrey County Council, and I've specifically referred to their letter dated the 24th of January. Now, this wasn't just any old letter from Surrey County Council. It's from Surrey County Council Highways and their strategic highways, and it's a direct final consultation response on the SADPD with the examiner's main modifications comments. So it was their final consultation. They've done various consultations all the way through, and the theme of their consultation has been the same, i.e. that they feel extremely strongly that infrastructure upgrades are required to be provided for any new housing development within the Mid Sussex district, because people that live in Tanbridge, namely Felbridge and North Felbridge, will take advantage of facilities and infrastructure within East Grinstead, which comes into the Mid Sussex planning area. So you can fully understand that. That's not just traffic, that's health, that's education, and sports facilities, etc., etc. So their letter dated the 24th of January couldn't be stronger, basically. In other words, they're basically telling Mid Sussex in their consultation response that something must be done to that junction, and they go further. They call it a Grampian planning condition, which is what I call a condition precedent, such that if any planning permission to SA 19 and 20 should be seriously considered and made granted, then as a condition precedent, that junction must be upgraded, not just to mitigate the extra traffic that would come from the extra circa 775 houses, but the existing traffic overcapacity of the junction. Now, the reason I say overcapacity of that junction is because there is an additional transport report, the WSP transport report, which I have the executive summary here, which is published on the Tanbridge District Council website examination page. And they state that the Felbridge junction, and I quote here, the Felbridge junction has been identified as a constraint to development coming forward in Tanbridge and Felbridge East Grinstead area. The junction currently operates above capacity, leading to congestion during peak periods and at other times of the day. And they then go on to quote the percentage exceedances, 107% and 102% on the 264. So this WSP report was commissioned jointly by Mid Sussex District Council, Tanbridge District Council, Surrey County Council and West Sussex County Council, specifically for the four authorities to work together to come up with a mitigation solution, strategic mitigation solution. And thus far, as proven by the Surrey letter of the 24th of January, that hasn't happened, to the point where, according to Surrey in January, Mid Sussex haven't even discussed the issue any further since 2020 with Surrey or indeed Tanbridge, which as a town councillor and a district council, I find frankly appalling. I have stated this numerous times at district council, full council meetings, scrutiny meetings, and indeed we had an annual town council meeting in March here where Robert Salisbury, cabinet member for planning, came with an open forum with the public, and I put that very point to him. And at no stage have the district council said really why that report hasn't been issued, and indeed if it ever will become issued. I know the report is finalised, it just hasn't been issued. So with that lengthy background, I think it's important for people to understand the situation, because people in Imberhorn are extremely angry about it. I'm very angry about it, that I've been frankly balked by the district council for months and months and months on this. And I think from a town council, we need to make the strongest possible stand to back up the people of Imberhorn and other people in the town that are aware of the traffic issue. Because it's not just Imberhorn people from all over the town try and go through the north of the town, and that's the issue. So the wording is before you. The letter is before you from Surrey, and it specifically mentions the Surrey letter. So I don't know if you want to read out the actual planning policy statement just for the record, or
I think the letter's there. But the letter's there for.
the letter is there, and that will.
Potentially go into the minutes, so you know what.
I think, yeah, for anybody listening, I think it's useful for people to know what the actual wording is.
Yes, absolutely.
So the proposal is to adopt the following planning policy statement. East Grinstead Town Council fully supports the position of Surrey County Council Highways Department as set out in its letter to Mid Sussex District Council the 24th of January 2022. Specifically, this requires Mid Sussex District Council to issue a Grampian precedent condition for SA19 and SA20 such that any future plan and consent be granted for either or both of these allocated sites. Then Mid Sussex District Council guarantee that section 106/278 legal agreements will be executed prior to consent to upgrade the A22/A264 Start Road junction, to provide full mitigation for the existing overcapacity of this junction and mitigation to negate increased capacity caused by the extra 775 dwellings proposed. This work to be completed prior to the first housing occupations on either site mentioned above, thus requiring Mid Sussex District Council as the planning authority to work in agreement with Surrey County Council, Tanbridge District Council and West Sussex County Council, and to become the lead authority in securing and delivering this key infrastructure work.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, that's your proposal.
That's the proposal.
Thank you.
We could have a second.
I'm more than happy to second that.
Mm.
Would anybody else in the room today like to make any other further comments?
Thank you, Chair. I'd just like to thank Councillor Whittier for all the work that he's done on this, and yourself, obviously, but that really is absolute stellar piece of work. Well done.
Okay. I would also say, obviously, the DPD site allocation has been reaffirmed. And there are two sites in East Grinstead. It's very frustrating because they've been through an inspection with an independent inspector in terms of policy validation. And it's frustrating that we have to approve the DPD, because without it, there wouldn't be a 5-year land supply. And if we're not careful, we'll have back to, if there's no 5-year land supply because we reject the DPD, they're back to where we are before the district plan was adopted in 2016, with a free-for-all for sites and large sites in the AONB. And there's one or two I won't mention here, but we have in East Grinstead. But having said that, sites coming forward, approved in the EPD, must go through the planning process. So, and as part of that, obviously, we need to take into account the traffic flows and congestion and the traffic modelling. So that's what we'll say, and that needs to be taken into account. Hence,
I think that what Councillor Whitaker is proposing here, with the wording is very good, because it sits then with the plan, with the planning application. BPD's happening, but then this is part of the planning condition. I think that's the stage we are now at to fight, and I think most people are aware that we can take more housing, the right sort of housing, but we need the right infrastructure with it. And this statement, I think, strongly marks out our pitch that we won't roll over and we want the right infrastructure.
Yeah, just one final point on that. At the 29th of June District Council meeting, when the DPD initial adoption was fully debated for at least 3 hours, I did make a statement very similar to this and basically requested a condition be confirmed to me that this condition would at some future stage be put in, and it is in the minutes of that District Council meeting on the 29th of June. They refer to infrastructure but not junction upgrades, so it's kind of it was acknowledged what I said in the minutes, so it won't come as a surprise to what I'm saying tonight, to what I said on the 29th of June, and indeed back in January.
It's crucial for the growth of our town. It's not just the housing, but the way of getting in and out safely and efficiently. So,
Absolutely.
thank you. So I think we're in support of this. I think the whole town will be in support of this. So can I show of hands?
Carried.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to share my screen. Right. So we should start on item 7 with protected tree applications. Should we get declared out the one for QPH? I don't know if it's at the top of that.
Yes, please, Chairman.
And possibly Councillor Watford and the bank staff as well,
Mhm.
and Councillor Football
That will take you in court
on that particular item.
on that particular item, so you won't be able to make a decision on it.
That's fine.
So could I perhaps suggest that you skip that particular item unless the other 2 remaining committee members actually have something very serious they should refer to. We'll just make an appropriate comment.
That's fine. On the, do you want to do, on the other items, you have the other 3 trees. Can we make a discussion?
Yes, yes.
So if we, in that case, we're not for it, we'll forget, move on from DM 22, 23, 58. But on the other 3 applications there, we've limited these on block, obviously, to the tree officer, so I'm happy to propose that we do that. Now, a second for that. And are there any other comments that wish to be made? Councillor Mrs. Rockford.
Thank you. Again, I see Bellagio Place would like to fell an oak tree. Again, I would like to mention, and I'd like it minuted, that it is a very rich spring source at Bellagio Place. And obviously the tree helps mitigate against that water. So I would move that if it has to come down because it's unwell, okay, but it must be replaced.
Agreed. I think Bellagio Place, the way it's designed, is a great risk from anything subsiding.
Absolutely.
If there are no other comments, we have a show of hands to adopt that with those comments. Thank you. Okay. Let's start with new houses down at Inverwood. So this is DM 22 0718, land to the rear of 61 Crawley Down Road, Eldridge. Development to provide a mix of 2, 3 and 4 bedroom dwellings with access obtained through adjoining site as approved under DM 20 1078 with associated landscaping and infrastructure. This plan we have seen before. This is further ecology information received on the 15th of July and further drainage information and amended plans to align with that received on the 25th of July. So we have seen this, we have discussed this. For interest for people, that this is the SA 20 site, but it's saying this is the SA19 site. This is this new proposed site, which is very close to joining on to that. These are what the houses potentially could look like. And this is their layout. We have made comments in the past about this, and nothing from these new plans changes that comment or that stance, in my opinion, of this council. The one thing that I think we can add, now we have adopted the new documentation, is to refer back to this planning statement, been adopted because that becomes relevant in this as well. So I propose that we add in that, but keep our comments the same as we made on the 28th and the 3rd when we last saw these, which would recommend refusal. Can I have a second for that? Any further comments on that? That's what.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure on where they are with this application with the 106 contributions. Clearly, it's potentially part of an existing development by Vanderbilt Homes. So I haven't seen any details pertaining to that. So I don't think we're privy to that at this stage. But
We had, as a town council, we had a request for any bids that we would make.
Yeah.
From the section 6, but that is all. We've not seen any detail.
yeah, obviously there will be a 106 for the existing consent. So I'd like to request some further information from the district council on where they are potentially with this. Notwithstanding that we could well reject it tonight, as you suggest, as you proposed. Just that.
Yeah, no,
Just
no.
for information.
Yeah, that's fine. Any other comment on this at all?
But the traffic situation, as you just mentioned, Chairman, you know, that whole, that graphic, the one that you showed before with the 3 sides surrounding potentially existing sites going sort of anti-clockwise right the way around to potentially SA20, SA19, and all the existing ones. Abbey Homes are still being built out at the moment. And it's a whole U-shaped string potentially. So the strategic traffic solution, it just crystallizes our planning policy state. That one graphic absolutely in itself demonstrates why we need a planning policy statement, a very strong statement. So
And I think this is why individual applications like this shouldn't just be taken on it's only 20 houses.
yeah, just picked
It's part
up.
of a cumulative vast amount of extra housing that is pouring onto that road and pouring into those junctions. And I just think this, you know, we've got those DPD documents that have approved those 2 sites, SA20 and 19. This is, I know it's in the SLAR, but
The difference with what we just agreed with SA 19 and 20 is they are strategic sites. They've been strategically allocated. So with that, the planning authority has a strategic responsibility to provide the requisite infrastructure to manage those potential future sites subject to planning. Whereas these sites have popped in over the last decade.
yes, and these are part of the bigger problem.
Yeah.
Okay, can we show of hands recommend refusal? Application really annoys me. Right. So we're going to have DM 22, 2337. This is 7 Oakcroft. This is single story front and rear extensions, double story side and rear extensions. It's quite a large amount here. So in the on the plan here, this red area shows the new bits. This is in Heronside, by the way, and this shows the before and afters. So this shows where the existing house is and where it would infill. The neighbours who are objecting have sent this little graph showing where this new extension will fall and how it will be from their house and garden. This is Herentide, so Mayor, would you like to
Thank you.
start on this?
Yeah, I think summarised it quite well. It is quite a large extension, I think. And I would say jutting out towards the neighbours. I think it's overdevelopment. It's imposing. I'd say it's not necessarily consistent with the area, the design of housing for the area, and the Mid Sussex Design Guide, which we need to consider too. So I would cite EG3 over development. You know, it's not suitable, and design guide, to be perfectly honest with you. Just seems it's going to change. I think it's going to change the character of that part of the road, that area myself.
Okay, can I have a second for that? Any further comments on that? One thing I would say is one of the things when Herentals was designed was these gaps here are strategic gaps to allow light into gardens, to allow to give a feeling of space.
Yeah.
And I think by filling that, you can see the in my opinion, the very negative effect that will have on the property next door, which this was designed intentionally not to have two houses next to each other, but they're not treading on each other's toes.
So you can see from the shadow from the lamp post, just highlighting that fact.
So I can see why, if you were living next door to that, you'd be very concerned. This whole back area of the house will become incredibly dark and overlooked. There's also, I think, if I remember correctly, there's a new window that's proposed to go in at the side here, which will overlook them. So I can see why they want to do it, and they have stepped it back from the main house, etc. But I think it's a little like Colwitz from the side from the poor people living next door. So I would share the town mayor's view to recommend refusal. No show of hands in support. Thank you. Another emotive one, DM22 2034. This is technically a PNO, but it's something that has also caused a lot of discussion, and it's caused a lot of discussion at the planning meeting in the past that I wasn't at when I was on holiday on the 11th of July. This is the 5G telecoms mast, H3G street pole, and additional equipment cabinets to the land south of 25 and 27 Holdside Road. It is worth noting that they have reduced the height of the pole. The last time it was seen, it's still vast, 15 meters high. You can see it's in scale to street lamps and other houses. It's this huge thing. And it's also worth noting that the land is Mid Sussex District Council land, who haven't been approached by the developer about putting it on there. No, that isn't necessarily a planning concern, but I think it shows maybe the lack of care that they're putting to where they place this. There are lots of places that would be much better suited for a 5G mast, and we can't step in the way of it. But yes, this is AFMAS, so this is Councillor Hall. Would you like to add anything different to the last time, or?
Well, reducing the height of the pole will not really change the views. You know, there's a massive rejection from the local residents, and there's a visual impact of the surrounding amenities as well. They're very scared, concerned about the effect on health, the electromagnetic radiation waves. Every time I admit them, it's very worried. And I think I will stay as opposed to this.
No, I have a second. Any further comments?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's horrendous. I mean, we were at the last meeting when this was presented. I can't believe it's a sort of gateway road into the town, really, coming from sort of northeast, in both ways, coming out of the town and coming into the town. And those houses behind, I think, are bungalows.
Yeah.
And that's a small piece of open space. That triangular piece of grass, relatively small, but it's very, very open and very sensitive to everybody driving and walking past it. It's absolutely horrendous. I mean, it's surely got to be better sites than that in the immediate vicinity where they can provide that facility. That is just visual blight.
Yes, agreed.
It's absolutely horrendous.
All I'd say it's a classic example of someone looking for the easiest plot of land to build something or to construct something. Not appropriate, completely out of keeping, not in line with the design guide. It says it's design guide on his own. It's ridiculous.
It seems a strange place. It seems at the bottom of a hill in a kind of fairly sparsely populated area. These called to the side. You'd have thought that it seems not its coverage. There are much better places if you
Yeah,
get better coverage.
you could hide that quite easily and still get the reception, I'm sure.
Yes.
Absolutely.
I would urge maybe our district council colleagues to put pressure on to the district council that if it does get through P&O, that Mid Sussex don't allow the land to be used for it. If they own the land. I might even go as far to say, I'll question any payments that would be made for that land,
Right, yeah.
not being in the public interest.
Yeah.
Okay, can I have a show of hands to strongly refuse this, please? Okay, so the last one tonight is DM 22-2350. This is 13 Oakhurst Gardens. This is proposed single-story side and rear extension. There are no objections to this, but I thought I'll bring it in because it is quite a large extension. You can see the plans there. Again, this is the before and after this big extension here. Do have some 3D renders of before and after. Or could you could you move that box out of the way? But this is Imborne, so Councillor.
Thank you. Yeah, Oakhurst, all bungalows up there, many have been upgraded and extended a bit very sympathetically. Bungalows are very sought after in the town. A lot of younger people are encouragingly sort of purchasing them. And they want to upgrade them because they were built in the 50s and 60s. So I think this again is predominantly or stays single story. And I've been in favour of approval, and there's many houses in that area have been upgraded in similar fashion.
Have a second for that. No comment on this. In that case, can I have a show of hands to? Thank you. Okay, so I shall close the meeting at 7:32.